The other day I picked up one of these digital dial gauges. Well, it hasn't got a dial, it's digital now. But I wanted to show you what the height of the piston protrusion was. I've already set it to 0 off the block, and it's such a nasty little device to actually 0 completely. But basically what it is if I take that down, you know, and then sort of bring it up to its peak point, because I have 0'd it off the block, so don't worry about that. And this is in millimetres. There, 9. A little bit more, we'll start to go back down again. So I was right, it was 0.9, and that is in the range of the 0-hole gasket. If it was 0.8, we could have just squeezed in the 3-hole. But there's a reason for it, why they have a gasket like that, so that's what I'm going to put on. The next thing, I'm going to have a bit of a ramble about the rear oil seal. The 300 TDI had a terrible reputation with the rear crank seal. It used to warp. Now I did a video about this a long time ago, and this is not the seal I'm fitting, and it's not the seal off this engine, but it's a seal I kept because it's actually warped. But the thing was that it warps across this bottom edge here. Now in the HS 2.8, or the TVG or whatever it's called, ABC, they corrected that by putting 2 additional bolts down here. Good idea, eh? The problem is the 300 TDI hasn't got those holes in. So what do you do? Well, this is a bit of a problem. I've got the original OEM seal because the only place I could get one of those seals was for the HS 2.8 was Turner's at £36 a piece. They're kind of expensive, and the thing is, I always put these on with a gasket and bags of RTV sealer, you know, the Loctite stuff, and it seems to work pretty well. Now, this is a strange problem. I've never had one leak, so why start now? I always choose OEM seals as well because they are special, and you should never ever put these on with oil. You always fit them dry, and if you cock them up by putting them on, you're really supposed to put a new seal on because you can damage the lip quite easy. So this is my conundrum. You see, I've read on forums and things like this. I do read forums, but I never contribute now. But the thing is that people are saying that they're drilling and tapping the seal here, you know, and putting it in the block. Well, I don't think that's a particularly good idea because look, you ain't got that much surface area to screw to, you know, like to drill and tap it. It's actually between the 2 webs, and if you look on the other side, you're probably this is one I've filled up with RTV, but you can probably see there isn't that much space to get a bolt in. It's a completely different casting. Now, if I'd have bought a seal from Turner's to put onto this block, I would have to drill and tap the rear main bearing cap. It's not as easy as it sounds because you don't really want to do it in situ. You want to do it nice and square on a drill press if possible. You don't want to do it with the old Black & Decker because then you could make the job even worse. You could drill in at an angle and actually make this all cockeyed, so you don't want that. So the idea would have been to have a template to drill the main bearing cap. But the only way you're going to get a template is to use the bearing, to use the oil seal. Well, you don't want to be taking it on and off again, that's the problem. Could you make a template sort of out of cardboard or something like that? Well, I suppose you could, but then again, the seal's recessed it a bit, so that's going to be a bit tricky to sort of get lined up. I suppose you could do it out of cardboard or paper, but I didn't, and I'm going to just do this with RTV. Why change it? Why spoil a good thing? Now the thing is, there's a controversy too, that when you do the HS 2.8 rear seal, they're saying don't put a gasket on it, just use sealer. Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, the sump's held on with RTV, and they're a bugger to get off sometimes. And that's all I've ever used is RTV on these. I've never used anything else. But I thought to myself on this one, just as a bit of an experiment, to not put the seal on this one, but to use RTV. Why? I think the more metal-to-metal contact you've got, the better the RTV has got of sort of sticking, if you see what I mean. I'll dig your outer gasket and I'll show you what I'm thinking about. So here's two examples of the rear seal. Of course, I've lost the packet now, so I can't remember which is the OEM and which isn't. They're both metal sandwiched. There's like a paper gasket sandwiched and there's metal in between. And they've both got a raised lip on the bottom here. This one's like more of a furry type material. Don't know why. But let's show you on this one because it might come up in the camera better. You see, they've got this raised lip. Now I do believe that goes, does it go to the engine block? I can't remember. It's been a long time. But anyway, that raised piece here will go against the seal like that, and I think what they're hoping is that this will compress and act like a little spring, you know, to stop warpage. Will it? You see, it's not like a P gasket when they changed it from paper to metal. I think that once this is compressed, how's it going to sort of expand and contract? I really don't know. But again, I've fitted these before and I've never had a problem. But I think what I might just do is just put it on with RTV. I think that's what I'll do. Because I can't see it coming off. I can't see it leaking. It's actually not the seal lips that leak. It's this bit that leaks. The seals are really, really good. But do I put that on? Like that. Or do I not put it on? Sometimes you can read too much, can't you? But I can understand it when the HS 2.8, when it's got two extra screws down here. It's no, just don't bother with the gasket, put it on. But again, going back to what I was saying earlier, a good metal-to-metal contact would be far superior than having paper, metal, paper, RTV and like a sandwich. I really don't know. Oh, let's take a gamble. Let's put it on with RTV. I'm sure it will work. You know, I'm sure it will work because when we look at the crank, it is a good metal-to-metal contact. And as you see here, with this old seal here, I fill in all these little orifices with RTV before I put them on. And I have known people put these on dry. They just put them on straight dry, boom, pop them on, and then hope for the best. It's a really sort of tricky problem, isn't it? I don't know. But again, I don't think you could modify these by putting 2 bolts in here. I really don't think you can. There's not enough meat in it. And then again, you can't sort of build it up with anything. What are you going to do? TIG weld it next to the seal and melt it? Don't think so. So some people have said they've done it, but all you've got to be able to do is put some very, very tiny screws in there. It is a problem because you just never know from experience. Like I say, I'll keep rambling on about this for another minute or so, but the thing is that when I read Turner's, they said, oh, just put the seal on without any gasket, but that's for the HS 2.8 seal with the extra bolt. Bolts. I don't know. I tell you what, I won't fit this seal until the last minute, and I'll let you come back with feedback and see what you think. All right, so today what I'm going to get on with, we're going to tighten up the crankshaft bolt, and we're also going to put on the oil sump and try and finish that up because the head gasket will be here maybe Thursday night, Friday morning, so got to get a wriggle on. Right, I'm going to do the crank bolt. I've put a bit of red Loctite on there, just a little bit, just in case, a bit of security. I'm going to wind that down and we're going to get set up to tighten this down. First of all, it's 80 Newton meters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a hardwood block, and it is hardwood, not softwood. It's kind of important. And we're just going to drop a block down there and put against the web of the crank. Now, not a lot of you can do this, but I can. And we're going to click that up to 80 Newton meters. Whoop. There we go. Is that it? 80 Newton meters? Not in my lifetime. Oh yeah, well, it is. 80 Newton meters. And then it says it wants an extra 90 degrees. Now this is going to be somewhat tricky, so I'm going to mark up the bolt on here because I don't want to use my head angle gauge. I'm just going to mark it in relationship to the pulley, and then we're going to turn it 90 degrees. Right. I didn't mark it in relation to the pulley because I realised it will probably not work, but I'll do it anyway, just in case. Let's have a go. So that's up there. Black on black, that's not good, is it? But let's see how it goes. I'll do it live. If I make a mess of it, I'll keep it on. So we want to turn that 90 degrees. I think I'm going to have to get the old scaffolding fall out, because I think my screwdriver's going to snap. Oh, it is actually working. I think I need a little bit more leverage and a bigger screwdriver to hold my engine frame in. Here we go, the humble British scaffolding pole. You shouldn't leave home without one. It's a bit long. Right. Oh dear me. It's got to be a bugger to tighten up to 90. I usually rattle these up with my gun, but in this instance, I'm not. God help us, how the hell are you supposed to do this on the car? I'm going to break something. Probably your wrists. I've got stuff everywhere today. I don't think we're going to go past 90 anyway. Oh. Where's that? Oh, a little bit more. Gee, that's a lot. I think I'll stick to my gun in the future. It's hard to move this scaffolding pole at one same time. Right, here we go. I'll break my bar if I tighten it up anymore. Break my wrist with that thing. Oh, that's not bad. I've got it. Lesson to be learned. Use an impact gun. And then we can simply take our block out. Now the reason why we use hardwood block instead of softwood, it doesn't splinter. Alright, so that's good. So that's alright. So the next thing, I would have liked to have done this with the flywheel as well, but I can't because it means taking this out of the stand. And I'm not sort of struggling with this on the floor, that's for sure. So I think what I'll do next is clean up this, clean up the block face here. And you can see our RTV is squidged out there, so we'll clean all that up. And I'm sort of a little bit of a paranoia person, so I'm going to check all these torques on the bolts again, just to make sure they're really tight, because this is last chance saloon, or saloon. You can probably see here, I've cleaned all this lot off, we've got all the oil and grease off. I'm just going to give it one last go before we pop this on. But I've gone round with a razor blade, cut down the silicone that was sticking through here, the RTV, and I've also taken off any residual paint because we really want this to stick well. And the same with the sump itself. I come back here, I've cleaned it all out nice. I'll just put that there so I don't put it in the engine. A couple of little things about these. A lot of people blather these with the sealer. Whereas you can see this raised portion here is the only place where you need to put sealer round. Now I tend to put it on and leave it for a little while and then put it down. Just nip it down with your fingers, leave it a little bit longer and then torque it down. One thing I wanted to show you was the sump plug. If you can see that, there's a good shot. The sump plug doesn't actually take oil right out at the bottom. It leaves a little bit. Now I know a lot of old timers like myself used to put magnets on the outside so little bits of metal will stick. And the problem is, yes, that's a very good idea, but not in this instance because it won't drain out fully. So it's not really a good idea. It's what I would call a bad idea, really. I don't know why they just couldn't put a drain bung going straight down, and that would get all the dirt and debris. But you can see how much is allowed to gather up here without getting drained. I mean, there's the level. There's the level. Man, no, that's a bad idea. So anyway, I'm going to prepare this up, and then I'll come back and we'll get ready to put this on. So this is nice and clean now, and I've used that much of a tube on the sump, on the gasket itself, so there's still a little bit left. What I try to do, just to be a little bit sort of anal, is I fill those holes up on the rear studs that go in, just to build it up a bit so you can get a bit more gasket in there. It's very thin on the back corner, on the back here. There's not much. So I'll fill those in. Can I get it out again? Yes, you can get it out again, you know, if you want to do any other work, but like I say, it only actually touches right on this very back edge. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to go and get the sump. So there you go. That's all it's going to get. All the way around, all nice and even, an unbroken chain, and then go around the holes again. So now we're just going to plunk that on. Like that. Give it a little wiggle. Just a little wiggle. Now I've already tapped out the holes for here, so there should be no residue in from the old sealer. So we're going to leave that a little bit, and I'm going to clean up the bolts. So I've put these through the soda blaster, and they've all come up nice and clean, no rust or anything like this. Yes, they will go a bit rusty, but eventually. We'll give them a coat of Crown rust proofing, but we can't keep buying all new nuts and bolts every 5 minutes. Now I'm just putting these in sort of no particular order, just going round them. But like I said, the important thing is to wiggle that sump and make sure it's nice and even. And you don't want, like I say, I went round a ring round the holes. You don't really want to put too much silicone in the studs, because some of them are straight through holes and some of them are blind holes. You don't really want anything in blind holes if you can help it. So try to avoid that. So I'll get on with that, and then we'll pull all these down. Right, the next thing we're going to do, we've left it a little bit. We're going to do it to 25 Newton meters. We're going to do it in a diagonally opposite pattern. So I'm going to start in the ends, and 25 Newton meters isn't much. See what I mean? Don't go around them all in a circle. Now, I was just going to say to you, if on this front cover, where it goes into aluminium, you feel when you're putting when your finger tightening the bolts down, you feel as if you've got too much silicone in there, too much sealer. Get a cotton wool bud, you know, for doing your lug holes out with, and try and get as much out as you can, because you don't want to hydraulic those covers, because they do strip quite easy. So I'm going to get on with that, and then we're going to have a look at what it looks like. So that's the result we're looking for. A nice even bead all the way around, not squidging and dropping down the side. And whatever you see on this side will be on the inside as well. So don't put too much on, because you don't want it falling in the sump. Now, if you didn't know what I meant by a cotton wood bud, or I don't know what you call them, but use them to get any excess silicone out of the threads, because it's most important you don't hydraulic them. If you look very closely, around here, you can see where the silicone squidged out from under the head, and that's a good thing. The pity the sump wouldn't come up much better. It's like got burnt paint or oil or something like that, and I couldn't get it off, so I left it. But anyway, so now what we're going to do is leave it to dry, and then we'll see what the results are for doing this seal at the back. It's a bit of a shame they don't do polls on YouTube now, because it could have been fun. You can see this silicone here is squeezed out nice at the back, so we know that there's going to be no leaks there. I'll trim that off with a razor blade once it's dry. Alright, so see you later. Bye bye.